everyone. Welcome to Fearless Friday. My name is Joy Rustoven, and I'm the Executive Director at Survive It. Today, we're going to talk about the need for a qualified second opinion. It's one of the top two things we believe every cancer patient should do, whether, ideally it happens before your first line of therapy, but it's always a good idea whether or not you've started. Our guest speaker is Harry Buckman from Massive Bio. Welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I think a good place to start is one of the things that we typically find is that patients feel like they don't have time to go talk to an expert in their type of cancer, or they've already started and they really like their hometown doc. So what do you say to people who are reluctant to take the time to speak to someone in a second opinion setting?
In the United States, from the time when symptoms present themselves till diagnosis on average is 90 days. And then usually a few months from when they finally have cancer to treatment gets lined up, could be up to another 3 months in some cases. So you're looking at, 3 to 6 months of somebody feeling something is wrong until they find out, oh my gosh, I have cancer. Now what do I do? So the thought of pausing that and getting somebody else involved is just overwhelming for so many people. If you walk into the kitchen and there's a fire on the stove, your first response is to throw water on it. But if it's a grease fire, what have you done? You haven't put it out, you've spread it all over the kitchen. So that minute of pausing to understand the situation before you act is absolutely critical. And in cancer, what we find, people aren't getting more than one opinion, they're trusting one doctor. And doctors are amazing people. They spend their entire lives studying to know all there is to know. The issue is 85% of patients in the United States are treated locally, in the hometown, where their doctors aren't necessarily experts in that disease. They see a variety of cancers, right? And as you think about the speed of new medicines, new technologies, new therapies, how we are uncoding the genome all the time, right? New therapies being discovered, a lot of those doctors just cannot keep up with the speed of information that's coming out. So they're just going off of what they're used to, what's worked forever for them, what their nurses are comfortable with, all these different factors, and putting patients on a therapy which isn't maybe horribly wrong, but maybe isn't the latest, most targeted, best standard of care. Unfortunately, in cancer, where you start does make a difference. And you don't have to leave the hometown doctor to get that. It's about, do they have really all the access to that information in real time? And when you think about the offices, how overwhelmed they are, how the same person who checks you in is trying to answer the phones, is also trying to get approval from your insurance to give you the treatments or the testing that you need, it's very easy to see they just don't have the time to look through all the research articles, all the new guidelines and things that are coming out. Even with a team at a big place, that's very challenging. So for us, it's how do we do that quickly? And Massive Bio has constructed a team of experts from some of the best hospitals in the country. So when we think about a second opinion, we do it a little bit different. We call it a virtual tumor board because we're not interested in just one more opinion, which is just that, opinion A versus opinion B. We want it fact-based. In some areas, what we've heard is the reason that treatment was offered or wasn't offered was that drug is expensive and I can't get it, or I can't afford to have it for the patient. Or my nurse isn't certified for chemobiotherapy, and some of those newer medications may have higher side effects that we're not prepared to handle. Like, those are some things that we're hearing on a daily basis. And while that's not the common answer, it makes you think, wow, okay, sometimes it's not lack of knowledge, there's lack of equipment, lack of technology, lack of infrastructure. But patients don't ask those questions. They just say, doc, do you think this is going to work? In my opinion, that's the best one for you. Well, what's that opinion based off of? If it's based off of supply chain issues, staffing issues, billing issues, those are all things that influence an opinion. So we want it to be fact-based and evidence-based. We want it based on all the latest information that's available. It has to be real-world accurate, not just in a lab and a test study somewhere else that doesn't apply to the real-world situation. And it has to be, by a panel of people who are the most credible in their field. So we have a list of close to 100 of some of the best doctors in the country based on specific disease types, that we'll find 3 or 4 different doctors based on, breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, you name it. Send the records to those different doctors who will come back with what they believe the patient should be doing. We will reconcile all of those things, get them all in the same room to make sure they're on the same page. and then get one of them to talk to the patient and the patient's hometown doctor to make sure that everything that is known that's out there that's relevant to this specific patient is brought to bear on that patient's case. And we get that all done within just 5 days. So patients don't have to think about, oh my gosh, I have to leave, I have to travel, I have to see if that facility, that doctor's covered in my benefits. We take care of all those things.
That's great. And so you mentioned the payer. So are they, I know they're all different, but are you seeing a lot of them reimburse for this? What happens if a patient can't afford this out of pocket?
So we have a few things. We do have a number we'll give to the patients. They can take it back to their insurance, and there is some level of reimbursement that they can get from the patients. Because we are actually not a provider of care ourselves, we can't bill an insurance directly. We will give them all the information to get back to the insurance company so they can get some form of reimbursement. And they've been successful. Plans like Aflac and others pay for this, up front, which is absolutely fine. But for patients who have to pay out of pocket, and a lot do, we have payment plans. So if we have 2 doctors involved in the case, it's $750. Up to 4 doctors involved is $1,500. And honestly, for us, we just have to pay the doctors for their time. That's where the money goes. I'm asking some of the best doctors in the country to give us a few hours of their time. As much as they want to do it all for free, they can't. And so that's where that just goes back to those doctors. There's very, very little overhead cost in that at all.
That's fantastic. Can you share a success story?
We just talked to a gentleman, and he's from Iowa. And, he actually called us because he thought we were, believe it or not, he saw our ad. He didn't know how we could help. He needed to get a credit voucher for gas for his pickup truck. He was driving, 30 miles each way for daily radiation. And he was saying, okay, it's metastatic disease. That's all my doctor said I could do for it. And we started talking about what we offer. And lo and behold, there was a new option that had just come out that his doctor didn't know about, that when we looked at the profiling of his tumor, he had this mutation, and got him hooked up with a team that can deliver a new therapy once his radiation was over. And all of a sudden, an option for a person who didn't know it existed, the local doctor didn't know it existed, but now offers an alternative to lifelong hormonal therapy. Now, we don't know what the outcome is going to be, and it's still his choice to do it or not. But the fact is that here's a guy who was looking for a gas card because he couldn't afford to go back and forth for radiation, that all of a sudden knew there's another option out there for me. And those are the things that we do that really just make us really excited, because before, my background as a healthcare administrator. If I would have got that call before, it would have been, really, I'm sorry to hear about what you're doing, but unless you're going to come to my hospital, there's not a lot I can do. I have some great doctors, but unless you physically visit me, the traditional healthcare paradigm is that. Here, it's not about that. It's how do I deliver the best care to the patient in the middle of Iowa, or even in the suburbs of Chicago, or even in New York City, who doesn't know there's other options besides what the doctor down the street has. So that, for us, is how we're changing the healthcare paradigm.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things that we really want for patients is just to know all of their options and to be involved in that decision-making process. And so the fact that you guys are offering this remote second opinion is so fantastic, because it's not realistic for some people to travel. They can't afford it, or they have work, or they have children. And so the fact that they can, submit this form, which again, we're providing the link below, and get in touch with a patient navigator, and within 5 business days have quite possibly a list of options that they didn't know existed. And you guys will facilitate all of that. You'll talk to their local oncologist. It's really fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here, and more importantly, for offering this incredible service for patients and caregivers. I think that more than anything, when I was caring for my dad, it was I really wanted to set my expectations because I was seeing all of this exciting stuff coming out for cancer treatment options, but I never had that peace of mind that we were in fact doing everything that we possibly could, and that he was getting the very best treatment possible. And so had we known about you guys, and if you existed back then, we could have talked and we would have figured that out together. And so I think setting expectations, getting that qualified second opinion, and even having up to 4 doctors review your case is really exceptional work. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And I'm really sorry to hear about, what happened with Dad, of course. And I think that's part of why this is so powerful. And maybe everything that has been done can be done. But that peace of mind of knowing that you know what, we did everything. How do we make sure that everything that can be done is done? And even if the choices we don't want to do anymore, that's a choice. That's not a lack of options, and there's a very, very big difference. And so we're here to empower the patient with that information, and the family with that information, so they can do what's right for them, and only they know what that is.
That's right. Well, thanks again for being here. As I mentioned, we'll put the link below to access that. It's a quick form that you submit, and their patient navigator will reach out to you directly. So Harry, thanks for being here. We're so excited to share this new resource with our patients. We think it's going to change the lives of many people.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope this is helpful for you. We hope that you utilize this really incredible resource. If we can support you in any way at all, please feel free to reach out to us at info@surviveit.org. Until next time, stay strong and live fearless.